Hi, I just want to say good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, or whether what day of the day you are watching this. I just want to say good day. Today, I'm gonna be talking about the components of juiceable value, specifically the rules of freight and insurance, and how did I come up with my solutions and answer to the following questions. But before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Brianna Claudette Sisulasula, a third-year Customs Administration student in the University of Cebu main campus. So let's proceed to components of dutiable value. So pursuant to Customs Memorandum Order 22-2007, the Bureau of Customs provided guidelines in the determination of freight and insurance charges. So by C, we have free on board or the FOB, insurance, and freight. So if we add those three, we can come up with a CIF or what we call the cost, insurance, and freight. And by air, we have the FCA or the free carrier, insurance, and freight. So if we add those three, we can come up with a CIP. It's what we call carriage, and insurance paid to. The dutiable insurance shall be whichever is higher between the amount of local or domestic insurance and 2% or 4% of the FOB or FCA value. Note that the local or domestic insurance, if there is no official receipt and certification presented, versus the 2% or 4% of FOB or FCA, and that will be to whichever is higher. Now, we are now down to the fifth rule of insurance. The fifth rule is entry versus 2% or 4% of FOB or FCA. If there is an entry indicating with a insurance and there is also an FOB or FCA presented and it is not covered by any local insurance, then it should be done by a whichever is higher. Rule number 6 of insurance, government importations. So, we have here original GSIS Marine Open Policy, and other than GSIS, we will apply the number 3 rule. And those that are not covered by local insurance, we will be applying rule number 5. So if we have an original GSIS Marine Open Policy in the problem, then the original GSIS Marine Open Policy is our insurance. So all in all, we have 6 rules of insurance. Now, let us proceed to the rules on juiceable freight. Rule number 1. The juiceable freight shall be the freight charges indicated in the bill of lading or airway bill. So, as you can see, if there is a bill of lading or airway bill in the problem or statement, then that bill of lading or airway bill will be our freight. Rule number 2 of freight. If there are freight charges indicated both in the bill of lading or commercial invoice, the juiceable freight shall be whichever is higher between the freight charges in the bill of lading or invoice. As you can see, here is the formula or the note of Rule 2. Freight or bill of lading or airway bill versus freight of the commercial invoice, and then whichever is higher. We are now down to rule number 3 of freight. So if the terms of sale are CFR, CPT, CIP, or CIF, Always deduct the freight charges indicated in commercial invoice to compute the FOB or FCA value. However, in computing the juiceable value, use the whichever is higher rule. So as you can see in the note that CFR, CPT, CIP, CIF, we will choose the commercial invoice for freight for computing the FOB or FCA. But if it is for dutiable value, then the CFR, CPT, CIP, CIF versus the commercial invoice to whichever is higher of them. Okay? Rule number 4 of freight. So, if no freight charges indicated in the bill of lading or commercial invoice, then the declared freight charges on the entry or SAD may be considered as usable freight. As you can see, if there is a freight indicated in the entry or SAD, then it will be our freight. It is also shown there that if no freight indicated in the bill of lading or commercial invoice, then we will choose the entry or SAD freight indicated in the statement. Rule 5 in rate. In computing freight. So if no freight charges declared on the entry, then freight charges shall be based on gross conference rate or GCR. For C shall be the juiceable freight. So it is taking note in there that GCR freight is equals to total gross weight in kilograms times GCR rate. Rule number 6. If there are freight charges declared both on the entry and gross conference rate for C, the juiceable freight shall be whichever is higher between the freight charges on the entry and 70% of GCR. So, it is taken note in Rule 6 that freight or entry or freight SAD versus GCR freight is equals to total gross weight in kilograms times GCR rate times 0.70. So, as you can see, there is a difference between Rule 5 and Rule 6. In Rule 5, there is no freight or entry or freight SAD. So if both appears in the statement, then you have to go with the general rule, which is the whichever is higher. And then when computing the rule number 6, we will have to multiply it by 0.70 per 0.70. Rule number 7. If no freight charges declared on the entry, then freight charges shall be based on IATA rate for air shall be the juiceable freight. It is taken note in there that IATA freight is equals to total chargeable weight in kilograms times the IATA rate. So what is chargeable weight? A chargeable weight is higher weight in kilograms between the actual weight and volume weight. It is primarily used a component in the computation of IATA air freight and storage charges at airports. So we have to compare the actual weight and the volume weight. So in order to compute the chargeable weight, we will need to compute first the actual weight and volume weight of the air cargoes. So actual weight, as you can see, is equals to total kilograms, the number of boxes or cartoons, the crates, times kilograms per unit. And then the volumes, and then the volume weight in kilograms is total kilograms is equals to inch or inches times inches times inches divided by 366 times number of boxes, the cartoons or crates. Next is the total kilograms is equals to centimeter times centimeter times centimeter divided by 6,000 times the number of boxes, cartons, or crates. Next is total kilograms is equals to meters times meters times meters divided by 0.006 times number of boxes, cartons, or crates. And then for chargeable weight is equals to actual weight in kilograms times volume weight in kilograms. I mean, it's whichever is higher between the actual weight in kilograms versus the volume weight in kilograms. So we need to identify whichever is higher between the two. And then for chargeable weight runoff, if decimal is 0.01 to 0.49, that would be equal to 0.50. Then if decimal is 0.51 to 0.99, that will be rounded off to 1. So in order to get the IATA freight, that would be equal to total chargeable weight in kilograms times IATA rate. We are now down to Rule 8 of freight. So if there are freight charges declared both on the entry and IATA rate for air, the juiceable freight shall be whichever is higher between the freight charges on the entry and 70% of IATA rate. It is taken note in there that freight or entry or freight SAD versus the IATA freight is equals to total chargeable weight in kilograms times IATA rate times 0.70. So whichever is higher between the two will be our freight. Rule 9 of freight. So for bulk or general cargo shipments made by the National Food Authority or NFA, the juiceable freight shall be whichever is higher between the freight charges indicated in the bill of lading or invoice and 10% of the CFR value of the commodity. So, what is National Food Authority? The National Food Authority, or NFA, is a government agency attached under the Department of Agriculture responsible for ensuring food security of the Philippines and the stability of supply and price of rice. So that would be 10% freight is equals to CFR times 0.10. So freight of the bill of lading or invoice indicated versus 10% of CFR, and then whichever is higher between the two. Now, we are down to the last rule of freight. Rule number 10. For refrigerated shipments, the juiceable freight shall be whichever is higher between the freight charges indicated in the bill of lading. So if no certification from the shipping lines and the reefer rates. So note, what is a reefer container? A reefer container is a short form for refrigerated container. These are containers that are used to transport temperature-controlled cargoes such as fruits, meat, fish, seafood, vegetables, dairy, and also non-food products such as flowers, pharmaceuticals, and film across many oceans. So as you can see, there are reefer rates according to the port of origin and the reefer van they use. So from the port of origin, we have here the Guangzhou, China, and by the 1x20 reefer van, we have the value of 1,300, and by 140 and by 1x40 reefer van, we have the $1,700. And then it follows to the following port of origin and their specific value with the reefer vans to what the problem or statement refers to. So to get the rule number 10 and to apply, we have here the freight of the bill of lading indicated or invoice versus the reefer freight. If no certificate, then we will be having the whichever is higher. But if there is a certification from the shipping company, then we will not be having the whichever is higher. So before we proceed with the computation of the juiceable insurance and juiceable freight, we will have first to know the rules on juiceable insurance. Rule 1. If the terms of sale are CIF or CIP, the juiceable insurance shall be the amount of actual insurance premium declared in the invoice. Rule number 2. CIP or CIF, 2% or 4% of the FOB or FCA. So if there is no insurance indicated in the invoice, then we will have to compute for the 2% or 4% of the FOB or FCA given. The 2% means general cargo and 4% means dangerous or high-risk cargo. So, products that belong to any of the following categories are subject to 4% insurance. First is the dangerous goods. Second, inflammable goods. Third, perishable goods. Fourth, fragile goods. Fifth, motor vehicles. 6. Excise tax articles. 7. Mechanical appliances or equipment. 8. Electrical appliances or equipment. And 9. Luxury items. So these items belongs to the 4% or the high-risk cargo. So for products that do not belong to any of the above or any of the mentioned categories are classified as general cargo and thus subject to 2% insurance. Rule number 3. If the importer provides local or domestic insurance, the dutiable insurance shall be the amount of local or domestic insurance, provided the importer presents certification and official receipt of such insurance. So, it is local or domestic insurance is equals to local or domestic insurance divided by the rate of exchange. That must have to be a certificate and official receipt. Rule number 4. Local insurance premium without certificate and official receipt. So if the importer provides local or domestic insurance but no certification or official receipt, so I have already discussed the rules of insurance and freight. Now we will proceed with the problem and then with a solution. Okay, the first problem is Uzumaki Naruto Corporation imported steels with an FOB value of $30,000. How much is the juiceable insurance? The given here is $30,000. So, in getting the insurance, we will have to apply the rule 2. As a solution, we have to multiply the FOB, which is $30,000 times 2% because steels are 2% which are in the general cargo. Then we have here the answer, insurance is equals to $600. Next problem, we have here Sasuke Transport imported tires which arrive at the port of Zamboanga with an CFR value of $25. The representative presented a commercial invoice indicating the following expenses: freight at $5,000 and insurance at $500. How much is the juiceable? So how much is the juiceable insurance? Given CFR is equals to $25,000, commercial invoice, freight $5,000, and insurance $500. The unknown here is the insurance. So this is the solution to the problem. We will apply Rule 5 of the insurance. So the commercial invoice insurance is $500. Then the CFR is $25,000 minus freight, which is $5,000. Then we have here FOB of $20,000. Then we will multiply 2% for the tires. And then we will have the answer of insurance is equals to $400. Since we are applying Rule 5, then we will be having the whichever is higher. Whichever is higher between the commercial invoice given insurance versus the 2% or 4% of the shipment or what is stated in the problem. But we have here 2%. Then whichever is higher with the $500 versus $400, and we have here $500 as our higher one, then $500 is our final answer. Next problem is Konoha Sports imported 4 head protectors which arrived at the port of Surigao with a CFR value of $30,000. A local insurance worth 50,000 pesos was provided. How much is the juiceable insurance if the freight is $5,000 and the rate of exchange is 40 pesos over or $1 per peso? I mean 40 pesos per $1. $1. So before coming up with the solution, we will first jot down the given numbers or the given variables that we need to solve the problem. We have here a CFR value of $30,000, a local insurance of 50,000 pesos, freight of $5,000, and a rate of exchange of 40 pesos per $1. And the unknown is the insurance. So we will be applying Rule 4 of the insurance. So as you can see in the solution that we start with the CFR with the $30,000 minus the freight of $5,000, then we have an FOB of $25,000, and then we multiply it by 2%, which is what we have, $500 for insurance versus the local insurance divided by the rate of exchange is equals to insurance. Then we substitute 50,000 pesos divided by 40 pesos per $1, and then we have here an answer of $1,250, and then we will now compare to whichever is higher. Whichever is higher between $500 versus $1,250. Then, it is shown, or we can tell that the final answer is insurance is equals to $1,250. So, Konoha Sports imported 4 head protectors which arrived at the port of Surigao with a CFR value of $30,000. A local insurance worth 50,000 pesos was provided together with its certificate and official receipt. How much is the juiceable insurance if the freight is $5,000 and the rate of exchange is 40 pesos per $1? Take note the given. So we have here a CFR value of $30,000, a local insurance of 50,000 pesos with certificate and receipt, and freight of $5,000 and rate of exchange of 40 pesos per $1. The unknown and the unknown of the problem is the insurance. In order to find the insurance, we will need to apply Rule 3 of insurance. So take note that there is a certificate and receipt provided. What we have to do now is to proceed with dividing the local insurance with the rate of exchange. Then we will be getting the answer of the insurance. Then we substitute 50,000 pesos divided by 40 pesos per $1 is equals to insurance of $1,250. Then we have here and we have come up the final answer of insurance is equals to 1,250 pesos. Maybe you will be confused. Why did we directly divided the local insurance with the ROE? It is simply because we have or the local insurance have provided or have presented the certificate and receipt. That is why we directly divided the local insurance and ROE, and then we come up with the final answer of $1,250. Next problem. The Department of Education imported plastic covers with a CFR value of $20,000. The original GSIS Marine Open Policy was presented amounting to 18,000 pesos. How much is the juiceable insurance if the rate of exchange is 50 pesos per $1 and the freight is $3,000? Again, we will need to take note or jot down the informations for us to be able to compute the problem. Here are the given facts. CFR of $20,000, original GSIS Marine Open Policy worth 18,000 pesos, and the ROE or rate of exchange is 50 pesos per $1 and the freight is $3,000. And the unknown here is the insurance. We need to find out what is the insurance of the problem. So in order to find out the insurance of the problem, we have here the solution. So original GSIS Marine Open Policy divided by the rate of exchange is equals to insurance. So why are we going to use the original GSIS Marine Open Policy? It is because original GSIS Marine Open Policy will be directly our key to find out the insurance. So we will now substitute 18,000 pesos divided by 50 pesos per $1 is equals to insurance of $360. So we have here the final answer of an insurance worth $360. So the problem has presented an original GSIS Marine Open Policy, and that is what we will be using in order to get the insurance. So we have here a $360 insurance of the problem. Next problem is the Department of Education imported plastic covers with a CFR value of $25,000. The entry indicated freight charges at $4,000 and insurance at $400. So how much is the juiceable insurance if the rate of exchange is 50 pesos per $1? We now have here the given, a CFR value of $25,000. The entry freight and insurance is $4,000 and $400. The rate of exchange is 50 pesos per $1. The unknown here is insurance, or what we need to find out is the insurance of the problem. In order to find out the insurance of the problem, we will need to apply Rule 5 of the insurance. So we have here our solution. Entry insurance is equals to $400 versus the CFR $25,000 minus freight of $4,000 is equals to FOB of $21,000 times 0.2%, indicating with the plastic cover, shipment, and then we will come up with an insurance of $420. Then after that, we will apply the general rule, which is the whichever is higher. So entry versus the 2% or 4% value. Then $400 versus $420, the answer is, or the higher one is the $420. And now we have the final answer of insurance of $420. Next problem is tons of rice arrived at the port of Manila with a total CIP value of $50,000. The representative submitted the bill of lading indicating the freight charges of $4,000. On the other hand, after further perusal of the documents submitted, it was found that the freight charges and insurance were indicated in the invoice at $4,500 and $2,500 respectively. So how much is the Juiceable freight? Again, we will take note the informations in the problem. We have a CIP value of $50,000 and a bill of lading freight of $4,000 and the commercial invoice freight of $4,500 and insurance of $2,500. So, the unknown here is freight. In order to get the freight, we will have to apply Rule 2 of freight. Then, it will be bill of lading freight versus commercial invoice freight. So, our bill of lading freight is $4,000 versus the commercial invoice freight of $4,500. As we can see, the higher one is $4,500. So we now have the final answer of $4,500 of freight. Next problem is Minato imported suits with an FOB value of $25,000 which arrived at the subport of Dumaguete. How much is the Juiceable freight if the shipment has the gross weight of 2,500 kilograms subject to gross conference rate of $0.55 per kilogram? We have here the given with an FOB value of $25,000, gross weight of 2,500 kilograms, and a gross conference rate of $0.55 per kilogram. The unknown here, or what we need to find out here, is the freight. So in order to get the freight on the problem, we will be applying Rule 5 freight, which is based on gross conference rate. So gross conference freight is equal to total gross weight multiplied by the gross conference rate, and then we substitute now. 2,500 kilograms times $0.55 per kilogram, we will have our freight of $1,375. That is our final answer. Next problem is Minato imported suits with an FOB value of $25,000. The insurance and freight charges indicated in the entry are $400 and $1,000 respectively. How much is the juiceable freight if the shipment has a gross weight of 2,500 kilograms subject to GCR rate of $55.55 per kilogram? The next thing that we do is to jot down the information or the given. So we have here an FOB value of $25,000 and an entry freight of 1,000 and entry insurance of $400. The gross weight is equals to 2,500 kilograms and the gross conference rate is equals to $0.55 per kilogram. The unknown here, or what we need to find out here, is the value of the freight. So in order to find out the value of the freight, we will need to apply Rule 6. So as you can see, we will be having the general rule, which is whichever is higher between the freight entry or the freight in SAD versus the total gross conference rate times gross conference rate multiplied by 0.70. So as a rule, we need to do the whichever is higher. So the entry freight is equals to $1,000 versus 2,500 kilograms times $0.55 times 0.70 is equals to $962.50, which is our gross conference freight. So we will now have to identify the whichever is higher between 1,000 and 962.50. So of course, the higher one is the $1,000, which is our final answer. Next problem we have in line is a shipment of 2x40 STC frozen tuna from Hong Kong arrived in Port of Cebu. Its CFR value is $55,000. How much is the juiceable freight if the insurance is $1,500 and the freight indicated in the bill of lading is $3,100, supported with a certification from the shipping lines? We have here now taken the given. A CFR value of $55,000, insurance of $1,500, freight bill of lading of $3,100 with certification from the shipping lines, so take note of that, and a 2x40 STC frozen tuna from Hong Kong. And what we need to find out here is the freight of the problem. So in order to find out the answer or the freight of the problem, we will be going to apply Rule 10 of the freight. So the bill of lading freight is equals to $3,100 with certification from shipping lines. Then our freight is the BL freight of $3,100. Why is it that we directly took $3,100 as our freight? It is because the company has provided certification from the shipping lines, or the shipment has a certification from the shipping lines. That is why $3,100 is our freight, or our final answer of the problem. Next question or problem is, a shipment of 2x40 STC frozen tuna from Hong Kong arrived in Port of Cebu. Its CFR value is $55,000. How much is the juiceable freight if the insurance is $1,500 and the freight indicated in the BL or the bill in the bill of lading is $3,100? So take note of the given information in the problem. So we have here a 2x40 STC frozen tuna from Hong Kong and a CFR value of $55,000 and an insurance of $1,500 and a bill of lading freight of $3,100. So the unknown here, or the missing one, is the freight. We will need to find out what is the freight in this problem. So, in order to be able to find out the freight of the problem, we will be still applying Rule 10 freight. So, as you can see, there is a Hong Kong rate which is equal to $1,600. If you have recalled earlier that I have discussed about the reefer rates, then you can find out there the Hong Kong rate, which is here. We can see that it's $1,600 and a 2x40 STC frozen tuna from Hong Kong. So that is why we will pick the Hong Kong rate, which is $1,600, that we will be using in order to identify our freight and apply the whichever is higher. Then let's proceed to the reefer freight is equals to 1,600 times 2 is equals to $3,200. If you will be able to raise a question or there is a confusion, why is it that we multiplied $1,600 by 2? It is because 2 by 40. So we will multiply the 2 to the 1,600 because every 1 by 40, the rate is 1,600. And because we have here the given of 2 by 40, then we will multiply 1,600 by 2 and then we come up with the $3,200. And now let's proceed with the freight bill of lading, which is equal to $3,100 without certification. We will be applying the whichever is higher because the freight bill of lading has no certification. That is why we will be applying the general rule whichever is higher between 3,200, which is the reefer freight, and the freight bill of lading, which is $3,100. So obviously, we have here $3,200 as our higher value and our final answer. So the final answer is $3,200. Next problem is Sakura Flower Shop has an importation of 3x20 STC assorted plastic pots with a CFR value of $54,000, which arrived at the port of Zamboanga from Port of Guangzhou. Bill of lading indicated in the freight charges at $4,000. So how much is the usable freight if the insurance is $1,000? So again, here are the givens. 3x20 STC and CFR of $54,000 from Guangzhou, and the freight bill of lading is $4,000 and insurance of $1,000. What we need to find out here is the freight. So, in order to find out the freight, we will be applying Rule 10 freight. So, as you can see, the origin in the problem is from Guangzhou, and the Guangzhou rate is equals to 1,300. So it is a 3x20 STC plastic pot from Guangzhou. So the reefer rate is equals to 1,300 times 3 is equals to $3,900. Again, the rate of Guangzhou is $1,300 and the STC is 3x20. So that is why we multiplied 1,300 by 3, and we come up with an answer of $3,900. And now we will be having it whichever is higher versus the bill of lading freight, which is equal to $4,000. So as we can see, the higher one that we have here is the bill of lading freight, which is $4,000. And now we have a final answer of freight amounting to $4,000. Next problem is the National Food Authority imported. I'm sorry about that. Again, the National Food Authority imported rice sacks with FOB value of $20,000. So how much is the juiceable freight if the local insurance premium is 30,500 pesos, while the freight in the bill of lading is $2,200, which is 50 pesos per $1. I mean, 50 pesos per $1. So we have now the given an FOB value of $20,000, a local insurance premium of 30,500 pesos, and a bill of lading freight of $2,200, and a rate of exchange of 50 pesos per $1. What we have to find out here is the freight. So in order to find out the freight, we will be applying Rule 9 freight, which is an importation made by the National Food Authority. So we have here the bill of lading freight amounting $2,200 versus the CFR times 0.10 is equals to freight. Next is, what we need to do is to add the FOB and freight in order to come up or to be able to have a CFR. So, FOB of $20,000 plus $2,200 freight is equals to a CFR value of $22,200. And then after that, we will need to multiply it by 0.10. So CFR of 22,200 times 0.10, and then we have a freight of $2,220. So now we will compare whichever is higher between the BL freight and the CFR. And here we can see that the freight higher is the CFR, which is the $2,220. And now we have the final answer of freight amounting $2,220. Next question is, Sunade Trading imported 20 cartons of medicine kit with FCA value of $30,000, and the insurance and freight charges were indicated in the entry as follows: $600 and $895. So each carton weighs 5 kilograms and measures 0.3 meters by 0.5 meters by 0.3 meters. So how much is the juiceable freight if the IATA rate is $8.50 per kilogram? So before proceeding with the solution, we have here the given information. We have 20 cartoons, an FCA value of $30,000, insurance of $600, a freight of $895, 5 kilograms per 5 kilograms for the cartoons, and 0.3 meters by 0.5 meters by 0.3 meters as a measurement, and an IATA rate of $8.50 per kilograms. So what we need to find here is the freight of the problem. So in order to get the answer or the freight on the problem, we will need to apply Rule 8 of the freight. So we have here an entry freight of $895. So if ever both the entry and the IATA rate and the IATA freight is given in the problem, then we will be taking it to the whichever is higher, which is the general rule. So we will need to get the actual weight first. 20 cartoons times 5 kilograms is equals to 100 kilograms, and the volume weight is equals to 0.3 meters by 0.5 meters by 0.3 meters divided by 0.006 times 20 cartoons is equals to 150 kilograms. So according to the rule, we will need to compare whichever is higher between the actual weight and the volume weight. So whichever is higher between the two is the volume weight, amounting to 150 kilograms. So we now have a chargeable weight of 150 kilograms. And then we will proceed with the computation of the IATA freight. So IATA freight is equals to 150 kilograms times 8.50 per kilograms times 0.70. And we will come up with an answer of 892.50. So after having the IATA freight, we will be comparing whichever is higher between the entry freight and the IATA freight. So whichever is higher between $895 versus $892.50. So as we can see here, the final answer is $895. Next, this is kinda tough question. Konoha Trading imported headgears that arrived at NAIA with CIP value of $25,000. How much is the freight if the insurance is 2% of the FCA and the freight is 20% of the FCA? We have here the given with a CIP value of $25,000. Insurance is 2% of the FCA and freight is 20% of the FCA. And what we need to find out here is the freight of the problem. So basically, we are done with the application of the rules of freight and insurance. We will now be taking it to the higher level. So the unknown here is the freight. So the given facts are CIP, insurance, and freight. What we need to do is to divide CIP, which is $25,000 divided by 1.22. So if you're asking why is it that we need to divide 1.22, that we need to divide $25,000 of by 1.22, and how did we come up of having 1.22 to divide with $25,000? So here it is. So 1 is a whole number that indicates with or that represents the FCA. So that whole number 1 is the FCA plus freight. The freight is 20%. That is why we have there 20% plus the insurance of 2% of the FCA. So when we add that, we can have 1.22. And then we proceed to the division. So $25,000 divided by the 1.22 is equals to an FCA value of $20,491.80. So in order to get the insurance and freight, we will need first to identify or get the FCA. That is what we had earlier. And then we will proceed with the getting of the insurance and freight application. So the FCA that we got is $20,491.80 multiplied by 2% of the FCA. What we have here is an insurance of $409.84. And then next is FCA of 20,491.80 times the 20% of FCA. Then we have here a freight of $4,098.36. So our freight is $4,098.36, which is the 20% of FCA. What you really need to do here is to add the what is stated if there is a percentage of something like FCA or FOB, then you will be needing to add that one, and take note that the one there is already a whole number. It's constant. Last problem is Inu Trading imported plastic flower pots from China with a CIF value of $18,000. How much is the insurance if the freight is 10% of the FOB? We have here the given facts or information with a $18,000 of CIF, and a freight is 10% of FOB. And what we need to work here or to find out here is the insurance. So to be able to find out the FOB, we need to divide CIF divided by 1.12. So what we have here is CIF of $18,000 and a freight of 10% of FOB. So again, upon saying that a CIF value of $18,000, we will need to divide it by 1.12, indicating 1 there as a whole number for an FOB, and 10% there is the freight, and the 2% is the insurance. So in order to have a FOB, we need to divide $18,000 divided by the 1.12, and we will come up with an FOB of $16,071.43. Then after that, we now have our FOB, and then we will proceed for the substituting or the multiplying of the correct percentage. So now FOB, we have a value of $16,071.43 times 0.10, which is 10% of the FOB stated in the problem, wherein we come up of a freight amounting to $1,607.14. Now, for the insurance, we will need to multiply again $16,071.43 by 2, which represents the insurance. So we have an insurance amount of $321.43, which is the 2% of FOB. So now we have the final answer with an insurance value of $321.43. So this is our last problem and our last solution. This would be all, and thank you for listening and taking time to be with me during the discussion of my solutions according to the rules of freight and rules of insurance. Thank you for watching and have a good day. God bless and stay safe, everyone.